One other thing that I was hoping to get your perspective on is the Canada First protest. I think it's scheduled for tomorrow at Nathan Phillips Square, if I remember correctly. Um, Maybe
Yep.
we have a poster that we can just show quickly to make sure that I have my facts straight on the timing and the place of the Canada First rally. So, of course, denouncing our kind of mass, unfettered influx of immigration that this country has seen under the Liberal reign the last decade, but primarily from 2021 onwards. Um, Dwarfing, like absolutely dwarfing historical averages that we have responsibly seen in decades past, and calling for immediate action around this as kind of social systems buckle and crumble in the midst. Maybe we don't have a poster to share, but anyway, I believe it's tomorrow. Oh, there it is. So Stop Mass Immigration Rally tomorrow, January 10th at Nathan Phillips Square. It doesn't say the time here, but I believe it's, sometime noon-ish. And again, please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But you found, and of course, being kind of at the center of protest mania in the region, that there is already some Antifa threats surfacing. What can you tell us about this?
Canada First is an interesting phenomenon because for at least a year prior, their events were sparsely attended. Not a whole lot of momentum around it, and not really counter protested. The past few events have had significant counter protests, including one at Christie Pitts and one at Queen's Park, and a huge police deployment, arrests that ensued, and violence against these protesters, that was dealt with to varying degrees. Tomorrow, I've seen at least 3 flyers calling for counter protests. One that was framed as an anti-fashion dance party of some sort, so a play on Antifa, a little bit cutesy. One that inexplicably had a swastika and a diagolon flag sort of crossed out. And for anyone actually paying attention, there have been conflicts between Canada First and sort of this nebulous entity of Diagolon, who perceive the organizer as himself being a globalist. So they have no connection to this, and it sort of is as if someone just took clip art and kind of transposed it with no real understanding of the dynamics. And then I saw another flyer organized by Community Solidarity Toronto, which is an umbrella network made up of different organizations, including one that's headed by Nigel Barrett, who is also a board member of the Canadian. So I do anticipate that there will be a sizable counter protest. Past events have had the counter protesters outnumber the protesters. So I don't know if that will be the case tomorrow. We'll see. But if it's anything like the past few events, the counter protesters will be sort of, there are different types who show up, right? There are some who show up in black bloc, ready to fight, ready to have altercations. And then you have kind of others who are just seeing a flyer and they oppose the idea of a mass deportation. The extent to which they're connected to these issues will vary. It was even billed as a family-friendly event at Christie Pitts, and there was a segment of that was just speeches and was more family-friendly versus the people chasing the protesters out of the park. So, Nathan Phillips Square is a very big space. It's also prime sort of skating time, right? It's going to be bustling. And so my hope is that everything remains peaceful. But past precedent is not super hopeful.
Yeah, you said something interesting there, where some of the people who engage in this stuff seem to have no real understanding of the dynamics. And I think that that is like the crux of a lot of the issues plaguing the divide in Canada and, this us versus them mentality. How do we get out of something like that? How do you disentangle out of that and come together and say, you know what, we actually do have a lot in common, and this is an issue that if you would just look at it from this perspective, or from if you would just hold on a moment and have an open mind, we can actually chat about this, and you might see why I feel that this massive unfettered influx of immigration may actually be harming Canada as a whole. Like, can we just talk about it?
Define the us and the them. And a lot of this, to my observation, is people take shortcuts, mental shortcuts with respect to each other. So if you use a certain keyword, or you follow X person on social media, or you have this symbol beside your handle, or any other number of indicators, then immediately you are pigeonholed as this type of person. And everything you say is invalid as a result. And, it is extremely divisive. In part, it has to do with our political leadership encouraging that kind of division, and neighbors versus neighbors. And, you can't trust your neighbor if they say this or do that. And it takes us away from the common ground, which, as you express, exists. And in fact, I would say is even more significant than some of the flashpoints on which we choose to divide ourselves. And that's fueled by media, both legacy and the kind of independent, more partisan driven, right? We are constantly separating ourselves into smaller factions and ascribing morality, right? And judging people based on things that would never have been the case even a decade ago. I don't have the answer to it. I would say that the more we're able to listen to one another and exchange ideas, the better. But there is also a very active, you can't talk to this person without becoming just like them. Right? There's this smear by association. So our freedom of assembly is under attack. Freedom of expression is under attack, where if you deviate from the orthodoxy, you're going to be ostracized. And so people self-censor to stay in line. Right? And there's real tangible impact on not being or saying the right thing. So it is a very scary time. We're also getting our information from relative echo chambers for the most part, and that's partly social media algorithms. It's partly, self-selection. So it is a messed up. I don't have the answer apart from we've got to go back to being patient with one another. And it can be hard to do that in the face of intolerance.
Put down the screens, touch grass. Like,
I was
honestly,
just going to say, touch
that's what's
grass.
needed.
You got it.
Honestly, the algorithms, people need to understand how they work, and that they're not your friend. And that the whole thing is to put you into an echo chamber, whether it is to buy an item or to buy an ideology. And it is literally shifting society. And the more I see words, actually, I know, Caryma, you did a post about how Antifa, will ask a fake question on Reddit, and then people are engaging on something without realizing this has all been orchestrated. You're answering exactly the agenda that the poster, who, whether they're Antifa or whatever type of person, is doing. And that's what's happening. We're seeing words being weaponized now, just normal words. We've seen that with freedom. It's been weaponized. All of a sudden it's a dirty word, and there's so many other things. The amount of names I get called, I'm the same person pretty much. Like, maybe I'm just a little bolder. But now apparently I'm a Christo fascist, I'm a Christo Zionist. I mean, these names just come out of thin air and I'm not changing who I am. The algorithm is changing the perspective of who I am. So we need to touch grass more, look people in the eye, remind each other again that we have more in common than not.
I'm
Yeah.
with you on that, and maybe roll in the snow for our current seasonal situation.
Yeah. Not me. I can still
Go do
touch
a
grass
cold
out
plunge,
here.
get your thyroid into it. Just kind of chill everything out.
Yeah, there you go. No, I'm still good
All
over
right.
here.
Well, thanks so much, Caryma. Any final words before we wrap up your guest appearance?
Well, I'll be there at the Canada First rally to see what goes down. So I guess stay tuned for that, and maybe I will see you all out in the field.